Michael Halliday's 7 Functions of Language. Here are learning objective for today's discussion is to discuss Halliday's language of functions and identify classroom activities that integrate functions into daily routine. So, what is language function? Generally, language function is a tool of communication by P.W.G. Nababan in 1991. So furthermore, language functions are used also to express the purpose or aim in speaking by adapting the situations in place. It means that language functions have functions to deliver some meaning to the hearer to understand what the speaker said. Language functions as the use to which language is put, the purpose of the utterance rather than the particular grammatical form an utterance takes. People use language in order to fulfill that purpose. Each purpose can be known as language functions. In 1995, Halliday established 7 language rules for children in their early years. For Halliday, children are encouraged to learn a language because it meets a certain objectives or functions. So the first 4 functions allow the child to meet physical, emotional, and social needs. They are the instrumental, regulatory, interactional, and personal. And the next 3 functions help the child to come to terms with his or her environment. They are the heuristic, imaginative, representational, so representational. Most language have other functions too. They play an important role in fostering feelings of identity and belonging. They are also used to express emotion such as love or anger and may be used to pass down knowledge from one generation to another. Instrumental function, it is it is used to express what people's needs. It can be used in the classroom by having students clarify instruction. Instrumental function of language is used to achieve a certain result. It accomplishes something either for the speaker or for someone else, and this function helps us to understand its purpose. Instrumental function, here are the instrumental function example. I like, I need is an example of instrumental function that giving the speaker's satisfactions once his material need is being given and received by him or her. Second, it is the regulatory function. Regulatory function, it is important in development of an individual as they are maintaining proper physiological states. It is the functions that controls the behavior of another person or others. Regulatory function of language is used to influence the behavior of others concerned with persuading, commanding, requesting other people to do things you want. Not to control the behavior of others, it can be used in a classroom by having the student role play to teach each other by giving rules. For example, do the things and it needs to be finished. This function does not dwell on the material things or the services rendered. Rather, the actor who carries out the issued command. The third one is interactional function of language. Interactional function of language is a language used to develop social relationship and ease the process of interaction concerned with the phobic dimension of talk. To relate to others or to interact, it can be used in a classroom by having students work in a group assignment or a group discussion. Interactional function is the communicative use of language. When people communicate with each other, they have to put the ideas into words and sentences. So that others can understand them. As a result, most language users rarely think about how they are using their own language. For, for communication purposes. Or what is the purpose of their language? Sir, it is serves as they interact in speech situations. Example of interactional function is having the conversation with friends or family members, giving presentations at workplace or in a class. Thus, this language is to establish a social relationship. Fourth one is personal functions. The personal function of language is an important concept in linguistics. In the context of linguistics, personal function means information about people and their relationship. For example, we use pronouns such as me or you to identify a particular person who is being spoken to. The personal function of language is language used to express the personal preferences, identity, feelings, emotion, personality, and opinion and reaction of the speaker. And it is used to express self. It can be used in a classroom by having students share personal thought or experience by making their feelings public, sometimes referred to as the here I am or what I am function of announcing oneself to the world. Example of personal function, it is the language that uses the here I am, watch me for my presentation tomorrow. The fifth one is heuristic. The heuristic function, it is used to learn and explore the environment of child uses language to learn. This may be question and answer or the kind of running commentary that frequently accompanies children's play to explore and gain knowledge of the environment. And it can be used in a classroom by having a student asked by teachers about how something work or explain their ideas in a Q&A format. The word heuristic comes from the Greek word search, which indicates its purpose in our daily lives as an instrument for learning rather about reality. For example, in comprehending it and solving the problems. The term heuristic function of language refers to the ability to or a potential of language for helping people make decisions and answer their questions. One of the main reasons humans use language is that it helps them solve problems and deal with specific situations. Therefore, the concept was created in order for linguists to understand better how exactly communication works and what role it plays in human experience. Here are some examples of heuristic function. What's that? How to solve it? Tell me why. The speaker's inquisitive mind is hungry to quench by explanation, truth, facts, figure, and information. So, the sixth one is imaginative functions. Imaginative functions of language is language used to explore the imagination or to create imaginary system or ideas, and also to tell stories, jokes, telling fairy tales may also accompany play as children. Create imaginary words or maybe use may arise from storytelling. To use language imaginatively in telling fairy tales, it can be used in a classroom by having students use pictures to create stories. We can define the imaginative function of language as the ability to represent mental images. It is a complex phenomenon as it involves both linguistic and non-linguistic elements. Imaginative function of language is the ability to use words, sound, and grammatical forms to evoke pictures and images or seen in minds. The word imaginative is derived from the imagination, which means the power of the power of forming mental images or concept that are not actual object but have an existing only in fancy. These functions enable us to create imaginary worlds that help us to understand abstract ideas by giving them concrete forms which we can see, hear, and touch. Imaginative function is one factor in the function of human speech, and it has been described as the power to evoke images and sensations. The notions that words carry meaning independent from their referents can be traced back at least to Plato's Catullus. Philosophers have debated whether words primarily denote concept or things with implication for how they shape thought. For example of an imaginative functions, let's allow our imagination to run wild. So let's pretend here the speaker expresses one's imaginative thought, fictional ideas, and make believe notions out of the world stories. And the seventh one is the representational functions. The representational function of language is language used to exchange and information concerned with relay or requesting information. It can be used in a classroom by having students describe a particular information or event. Representational function of language refers to the way that words can be used to refer to things, people, and events. Representational function of language is its ability to establish a connections between an object and that object's name. This representation is manifested in many ways, such as through the use of pictures or diagrams. Representational is important because it allow us to form meaning from our experience by linking names with objects we have seen before by Noam Chomsky. Name referent connections are the basis for linguistic understanding and knowledge acquisition. Here are some example of representational functions. I tell you, I know, I've got something to tell you. It is the sentences conveying messages telling about the real world expressing a propositions. To sum up, instrumental function is used to fulfill a need. Regulatory function is to controls learners' behaviors. Interactive function, it is a form of relationship with others. Personal expresses personal opinions, feelings, identity, and emotions. Heuristic, form of question or answers, a running commentary associated with discovery and explanation. Representational or informative occurs when requesting information and exchange of information. Imaginative, that it is a telling stories and creating imaginary stories or a concept and imagination. So, how can we teach functions of language to students? Basic communication goals can be expressed in terms of situations, functions, or topic. Teachers must plan situations that allow the students to use the different functions of language. Projects that incorporate various language functions simultaneously. For debates, it is used the function of language use is the regulatory, personal, and interactional. In a group project, the function of language can be used is and the interactional, regulatory, and informative. In a podcast, The function of language that can be used is are the informative and personal.